Whoa, that was a close call.
Heads up!
Hi guys, just your friendly neighborhood lion here to tell you about Daniel's faithfulness and trust in God. So last week we talked about how a long time ago, Jerusalem was conquered by the Persian army. Young Hebrew men, including Daniel, were taken back to Babylon to be taught in the Persian ways and trained to work for the king. Well, even though Daniel was taken against his will and had to go through some super hard stuff, he knew that God was with him. And God made it possible for Daniel to grow in wisdom and ability. And Daniel praised God and trusted in his plan. God allowed Daniel to work his way up to being one of the most powerful men in the kingdom. He became one of 3 supervisors. 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3. No, just 3. Pause. Anyway, Daniel was in charge of 120 satraps. Satraps. That's a funny word. Satraps were like governors in the kingdom. Now, because Daniel was trustworthy and wise, he became a favorite of King Darius, who was the king of Babylon at the time. The king decided to promote Daniel over all the other satraps in the entire kingdom. And that didn't go over so well. So stay tuned, because this true story has some plotting, powerful plotting by jealous men, faithful praying from a believing heart, a tricked king who was powerless to change even his own laws, and roaring lions that become as gentle as sleepy kittens. So, it's time to enter the lion's den!
King Darius was the new leader in Babylon. Babylon was a large kingdom, so the king picked men to be leaders over small parts of Babylon. The king picked Daniel to be one of the leaders. Daniel was very good at his job. So Darius decided to put Daniel in charge of all of Babylon. When the other leaders heard about it, so they could get him in trouble, but Daniel did what was right. The leaders knew Daniel obeyed God, so they made a plan to get Daniel in trouble for praying. They said to King Darius, "King, all of your leaders think it would be a good idea to pass a law. For the next 30 days, no one with the law will be thrown into the lion's den." King Darius agreed to pass the law. Daniel knew the law meant he was not allowed to pray to God. Still, Daniel went into his house and prayed to God 3 times a day, just like he had always done. The jealous leaders saw Daniel praying, and they told the king that Daniel had broken the law. King Darius was upset. He didn't want to punish Daniel. The king thought all day about how he could save Daniel from the lions. So King Darius ordered Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den. "May the God you serve save you," he said. The king went to his palace for the night. He did not eat and he could not sleep. He thought about Daniel with the lions. As soon as the sun came up the next morning, the king hurried to the lion's den. He cried out, "Daniel, has your God rescued you from the lions?" Daniel shouted back, "God sent me." He ordered for Daniel to be taken out of the lion's den. Daniel wasn't hurt, because he had trusted in God. King Darius made a new law. Everyone must respect God. King Darius wrote, "He is the living God. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions." To rescue Daniel from the lions. But Daniel was just a small part of a much bigger story. God ultimately rescued us from a much bigger problem, sin and death, through his son, Jesus.
Now that was a close call. Imagine having a sleepover with a lion. No thank you. Yet there Daniel was, face to face with wild lions who were probably in the mood for a little snacky snack. But did the lions eat Daniel? No! God protected and took care of Daniel. We can trust God to take care of us. Say that with me. We can trust God to take care of us. Daniel, a Hebrew man who became a top governor in the kingdom of Babylon, was faithful to God, and he believed that God would be faithful to him. All Daniel needed to do was obey God and trust God to take care of everything else. As part of his relationship with God, Daniel chose to pray 3 times a day, every day. The other governors knew that Daniel did this, and because they were jealous of how much King Darius liked Daniel, they came up with a terrible plan to get rid of Daniel once and for all. They tricked King Darius into making a law that for 30 days, no one could pray to anyone except the king. With a decree in place that not even the king himself could change, anytime Daniel prayed to the one true God, he would be breaking the law. So I guess Daniel must have given in and only prayed to King Darius for 30 days to avoid the punishment, right? No, never, not ever. God tells us to worship no other gods or idols, only him. And Daniel loved God, so he wasn't going to stop. The jealous governors caught Daniel breaking the law and told the king. King Darius was really upset because he didn't want to punish his favorite leader, but there was nothing he could do except throw Daniel into the lion's den. And he did. And a stone was put over the entrance so no one could rescue him. Early the next morning, King Darius rushed to the den of lions to see what had become of Daniel. The stone was removed, and this is what happened. When he got there, he called out in anguish, "Daniel, servant of the living God, was your God, who you served so faithfully, able to rescue you from the lions?" Daniel answered, "Long live the king. My God sent his angel to shut the lions' mouths so that they would not hurt me, for I have been found innocent in his sight, and I have not wronged you, your majesty." The king was overjoyed and ordered that Daniel be lifted from the den. Not a scratch was found on him, for he had trusted in his God. That's Daniel 6, verses 20 through 23. That is so incredible! God saved Daniel. We can trust God to take care of us. Daniel had not been harmed, not even a little scratch. God showed them that he is real and all-powerful. You know what? Like Daniel, we are all faced with choices every day. Will I worship God in front of people? Will I obey God? Will I tell these people about what Jesus did for me? Will I pray out loud? Will I love God even if other people don't? Sometimes it might feel scary to worship or obey God or to do the right thing. But we should always do what God wants us to do. We can trust God to take care of us. I don't know what you are scared of. Maybe you are embarrassed to sing and dance for God, or worried what your friends will think when you choose not to play a certain game because you know God doesn't want you to do that. Maybe you're scared to pray over your food in public because other people around you aren't doing that. Or maybe you're nervous to share about Jesus with others. Well, let me tell you something. We can trust God to take care of us. So trust God. Sing and dance no matter what anyone else thinks. Tell people anything you know about Jesus. Pray out loud as often as you think about it. Obey his commands even if no one around you is. Go into the world and love God and other people in really, really big ways.